Welcome back to Lost Legacies, a Hidden City production. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Yeah, I just figured, I should toss that in there because we've been doing that with cinnamon and oatmeal. And we've been talking
Oh,
about, like consolidating all our stuff under our one brand, but we never use the brand. So I'm like, all
yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah, Hidden City production. There you go.
All right.
Um,
It's official now.
it's official, baby. I had all this stuff to talk about, and then I realized I really don't. I didn't watch a Michael Mann movie. You didn't watch Star
Oh,
Trek Picard.
nope.
So yeah, we'll talk about Picard next week, I'm assuming, after you watch it. I personally loved the finale. I loved how they ended the season.
hmm
And I mean, I guess technically ended the Next Generation series, The
Yeah.
season's very much like the season 8. Yeah, I loved it. So we'll have to talk about it next week. Um Other than that, I'm trying to think. I kept watching Dark. I jumped back into Dark. I didn't really watch any movies. Um, I start watching clips of movies, and I'm like, you know what? Because they keep popping up on my YouTube. You know what? I'm gonna stop and just watch the movie. I think this weekend I'm gonna try and watch what should be a classic, an extremely underrated film, The Rocketeer.
Oh,
Because
okay.
clips have been showing up on my YouTube, and I'm like, God, this
hmm
is so good. The music, everything, like the CGI definitely has not aged well, but
Yeah.
like I just love it. I love it like so much. I'm watching the scene, and I'm like, oh God, yeah. I don't know. He's like, come on, Vinny. We're all criminals here. Wait a second. I may not live my life above the line, but I'm 100% American. Like, yeah, when the mobsters are like won't when the mobsters join your side just to fight the Nazis, that's a
Yeah.
good movie.
Yeah, that's a good
And
movie.
like just that whole scene, like that whole climax is just brilliant because like you're like, okay, how's Cliff gonna get out of this one? You're like,
hmm
oh, he has the rocket, he's gonna get out. Oh no, they're gonna shoot Jenny or whatever her name was.
hmm
Like, oh, he gets the mob on his side. Okay, oh no, there's Nazis in the bush. Oh, the FBI shows up, and like it keeps escalating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He puts the he has the jacket on, he puts the helmet on, he has the pistol, he stands on top of the Griffin Observatory with the flag, the American flag flying behind him,
hmm
and he rockets off after the Nazi blimp, and the mobster even stops shooting, and he looks up and he's like, go get him, kid. Yes. Cinema. That is cinema. Ah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this weekend I'm gonna go watch The Rocketeer, now streaming on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I wonder if we'll get like a revival or something, or will they
They've been
like
trying
reboot it,
to. They've been trying to. I don't. I don't know if it's modern or not.
Mm.
Uh, but like they've been trying to. I know it kept going in comics for a while. I and like Joe Johnston, I feel like he directed it. I feel
hmm
like he's directed so much, and like nobody really knows who this guy is. Like I feel like more people should. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna
Yeah,
look him up right now.
he's directed a Jurassic Park movie. He's directed a Marvel movie.
Yeah, and he's not like,
He's not nobody in the industry,
well, true, but he's not like a household name, and I kind of feel like he should be.
Mm.
Okay,
See,
let's see. Come
he's
on.
sort of in the camp of filmmakers that were like tutelaged under Spielberg, That's why like his movies kind of have an Amblin sort of feel, even though, it's not Spielberg, you
Hmm.
know?
Okay. Let's see. As a director, oh, okay. Let's go back to the beginning. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
The Rocketeer.
Mm-hmm.
Several
Dang.
episodes of the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Ooh.
The live action portions of The Page Master.
Oh,
Remember that
cool.
movie?
Yeah, of course I remember that movie.
Jumanji, the original.
Yep, yep.
October Sky.
He directed October Sky?
Yep.
Wow.
Jurassic Park 3.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Hidalgo.
I liked Hidalgo.
The Wolf Man with Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Captain America: The First Avenger,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not Safe for Work. Which one is that?
Not safe for work.
I don't think I've heard of this movie. An
Hmm.
office worker is trapped inside the building where a killer is on the loose.
Oh, whoa.
I don't even recognize any of these actors. Okay, well,
Okay.
other than that one, I mean, looks great. Oh, and the last one was Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Oh, is he? It looks like he's direct. I mean, granted, it's IMDb. All these projects they come and go, But it
Mm-hmm.
says he's directing the Silver Chair, which is a Narnia movie.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even know they were still making those. I thought they were going to do it like as a series or something.
No, well, not, as far as I know, nothing's been set in stone uh for a series. But I wouldn't be surprised, now that we're getting, like Harry Potter is coming back as a series, they're doing Twilight as a series.
Yeah.
We're super super pumped over here for Percy Jackson on Disney Plus.
Oh,
You
nice. Okay.
know, um, but yeah, I don't know. I figured that would be like a shoe in, get the Chronicles of Narnia, back out there.
Yeah. Was that Disney or
That was Fox.
Fox? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then apparently he's attached to Shrunk, a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, starring Rick Moranis and Josh Gad. So we'll
Wow.
see what comes of that.
Huh.
See, like all of this, like every single thing I mentioned, they're like
Those are
awesome
classics.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
classics. Like, why isn't I'm not gonna say he's up there with Spielberg, but like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he has a lot of like really great films under his belt, like
Mm-hmm.
double digits. Well, Joe Johnston. There we go. Maybe I'll talk about it next week when I talk about The Rocketeer. Let's see. Anything good? Any trailers?
Well, the it's been out for at least 2 weeks,
Mhm.
I think. But the trailer for The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yes, you showed me that one.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh-huh.
down. I'm
I
like, let's
am
do it.
I am so down. This, yeah, I like and it's so weird because I've been hearing about this movie, I feel like for a decade. Uh because it's it's just been like, I guess it's sort of just like been in like production limbo for about that long. I remember it being announced like way back when, maybe like, I don't know, when I was still in college or something. Um, but like, yeah, just nothing was happening. Like nothing was
Mhm.
moving. Like maybe a writer would like get attached or something. But yeah, I feel like I've been hearing about this movie, for so long. And then finally, like the trailer just came out. They're like, surprise, there's the trailer. Here's the poster. And it looks so good. I am beyond pumped, especially because like this is like a section of the Dracula book that always gets like just like passed over in like almost every adaptation,
Yeah,
you know?
probably because it is like I can see how it's easy to cut it from the story.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you it should. Yeah, it's easy to cut it from the story, but at the same time, there's so much to mine
Mm-hmm.
out of that story. Like I can also understand why they would want to make the film. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel about Frankenstein. I really wish. I mean, this is just me. I wish there was like a sequel, and because I'm really fascinated by the idea of Frankenstein and the monster. Like, where are they? Like in the Arctic or the North Pole or somewhere? Like,
The Arctic, yeah.
yeah, I remember reading the book in school, and like I enjoyed that book in school, but I really loved that side of it. Like, and especially as a kid, I wanted more exploration, more adventure. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of taking those two characters from what is basically a horror story and putting them like in a survival situation like that,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of what the last voyage of the Demeter, is that what it's called?
The Yeah, the Demeter.
the Demeter, the Demeter, which is kind of the same thing, you know. It's just like I don't know. It just feels like a survival story, and then you throw in Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you could do something really cool with that Frankenstein and his monster. Of all places, like some of the harshest terrain on the planet, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I agree, especially because like you have like the whole intro to this to the story is like a ship exploring the Arctic, like finding Victor,
Yeah.
half frozen, in the
Hmm.
ice. And then he like tells the whole story, and yeah, so it's like, yeah, I feel like that could be like its own little, that could be like its own tight 90-minute movie right there.
Yeah. I would do it Heart of Darkness style.
Hmm.
I think that concept of, getting a crew on a ship entering a strange new world, that is just something so classic and it's been done over and over, but like you just can't shake the excitement out of that. Like, oh, this is gonna be dangerous, but I can't wait.
Hmm.
So I would do something like that. So like I would have like the main character actually be someone else, and they discover Frankenstein, and then through the process they figure out the monsters out there, and I do something
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I can be
Hmm.
behind that. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, honestly, that's really the only reason why I'm a fan of the King Kong movies. Because
Hmm.
as I've said over and over, I don't like big giant things. Like there's
Yeah.
not that much excitement in it for me.
Yeah.
Make it cheesy like the classic Godzilla movies, or don't do it. I'm just not a fan of the big giant CGI battles
Yeah.
like that. But I love the idea of like Kong, or I'm sorry, a Skull Island.
Hmm.
Of like going and like even the Peter Jackson one, especially because like 2 hours of the movie is them trying to survive on that island.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a much better movie than Kong Skull Island.
I
Although
agree.
I did enjoy that one to a certain extent.
Mm.
So
It had its moments. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I did like how they just had a plethora of soldiers to kill off.
Yeah.
It's just like we can have so much fun with the toys in the toy box.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of island adventures, we're gonna talk about an interesting one today. We're talking about Lost season 4, episode 10, Something Nice Back Home. As Jack's health is compromised, his feelings for Kate start showing. Meanwhile, in the future, Jack and Kate play house. All right, Sam, what are your thoughts?
This is only episode 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Interesting.
hang on right here. Let me check. You text me last night at about 9:47 p.m. You text, "Damn, hell of an episode."
Mm-hmm.
And I just responded, "Tight." But what I was actually thinking was, did we watch the same episode?
Oh.
So I'm curious. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, this was the Jack and Kate, right?
Yeah.
Like their whole thing. Yeah, I thought it was a good episode.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm like I I'm over the sort of like melodrama of like the will they won't they,
Yeah.
Like this episode very much like felt like the definitive answer to like, oh, they will and
Hmm.
they are. Time is weird.
Yeah.
um but yeah, and it's like it works, like I don't know, like they do, like they just have such good chemistry, and obviously they have such a rapport with each other that it's like, okay, yeah, like Jack and Kate playing house.
Yeah.
i
It's
don't I don't hate it,
yeah, and it's nice to actually see them get to enjoy it and experience it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so like yeah, I do feel like like the this episode was very much like a lot of spinning plates, because when it
Yeah.
ended I was like, oh dang, it's already the end of the episode, like, oh,
Yeah, same here.
I was waiting for like a build up to something, and I felt
Mhm.
like it never happened.
And it wasn't shorter than the average episode either.
No.
So I I I didn't hate it, okay?
Yeah.
But I feel like this episode, this story, the whole not cat, Kate and Jack storyline in the future, it's like I feel like in order to get to the next chapter of the plot, we just got to get this out of the way.
Mm.
That's kind of what I felt like because it's exactly like you said. It's good to actually see these two characters together and enjoying it. Two scenes later, they're already in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I get it. You got to tell your story. You got to have conflict in the episode to make things flow. But by the end of the episode, it's really, we don't know if they're still together. And at the end of season 3, we know that they're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's weird. And another thing that's weird is that's the A plot.
Yeah.
Like the flash flow forwards was the A plot of this episode, which isn't the usual. It's usually the on island stuff.
Yeah.
So because of that, let's talk about the island first, and then we can get back to Jack and Kate's future, which has some things we can get into.
Okay.
Um, beachside surgery, man. I don't know what to say.
Man.
It felt like a season 1 episode.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Yeah.
man, we're still having to deal with this stuff. I don't want to be like the downer or anything, but it's just like I don't understand like what happened in this episode. The Jack and Kate stuff I understand, but it's like, okay, Jack needs to get his appendix, right? Removed.
Yeah.
So a group of them go to the old station to get the medical supplies. Jin figures out that Charlotte speaks Korean. I'm like, okay, cool. End of that story.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay.
Well, not really, because he like straight up confronts Charlotte and is like, "Hey,
that's a good point.
Like, yeah, like there's, there's a reason for that, like he tells Charlotte like whatever happens when the helicopter comes, you put my wife on that helicopter.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter anybody else.
yeah, and she understands. And he also he does threaten Daniel. He's
Mhm.
like, if you don't stop fooling around, I'm going to break all his fingers. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is going somewhere. But that was great. I love that scene. That was done before the midpoint of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm just so it kind of goes back to what you're saying about a lot of spinning plates. I'm like what is the story? Like what's happening in this episode?
Mhm.
But
I mean,
there's
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I mean, please. Give me a counter here.
That's kind of like like this is the ramp up, like the last episode, Shape of Things to Come is what it was called. Like, yeah, it's kind of like, we're ramping up because we got to set up a lot of these other things that we haven't spent the time on.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we established the Fantastic Four. Cool. Now they got to have some stuff to do. We started, like, we had Sun and Jin, like they had their own episode, like cool, great. Now we've got to start working towards that. Like, so it's a little interesting because this feels sort of like, it feels like they're running into the same problem they had with the other 48 Days episode, where it was like, we already know where this story goes.
Right.
So now we have to work backwards.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We have to build up to like make things make sense to get to that point of what we know. So it's like, okay, cool. Season 3 finale, fantastic, great. Season 4 intro, fantastic, cool, great. Now we've got to start working towards those things on island.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it's very, very much like, okay, if the A plot this episode is off island in the future, that means the B plot has to do the heavy lifting of like, okay, now we've got to like move things. But yeah, like it is, this is very much an episode where it's like things happen, but we don't really know, like they don't really feel significant yet. Yeah. It's like it's the planting of the seeds that hopefully will pay off in like these next couple episodes.
It's definitely pieces of the puzzle that we needed. But the thing
Hmm.
is, like, each episode, and Lost has always done this with no problem. Each
Hmm.
episode is a story. You
Yeah.
know, any television episode is a story, beginning, middle, end. The flash forwards had a beginning, middle, and end.
The on island stuff really didn't.
It really didn't. I guess you could use the framework of Jack's surgery. Uh,
Mm, yeah.
but like, sure had a beginning, middle, end, but like, we already knew. Like, okay,
Hmm.
pretty sure. I mean, we're anyone watching is educated. Jack is more or less the surrogate lead of this ensemble show. Like,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to die in surgery in
Hmm.
this season 10 of this episode 10 of this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, maybe something goes wrong and he gets worse, but like, I never really questioned, if he was going to live or die. I know everything went fine. I was like, okay, cool. Uh, and the story, like, it just. Here's my question: do you think this season would be better or worse if they actually had the full 16 episodes that they were supposed to have without the writer strike?
Mm.
Because this episode kind of makes me doubt it a little bit. It definitely feels like they're just throwing all the different beats. It feels like we don't have enough time next episode to do this.
Hmm.
We need to
Hmm.
figure out what's going to happen to Claire before the end of the season. Oh, we're going to throw that in this episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, and that's something else we could talk about later. It's just like, oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
felt like. So it wasn't a bad episode. It was just it was what was needed to get to the next chapters, I'm assuming.
Hmm.
Um yeah. And then the thing with Claire as well, we're like, oh man, she doesn't make it off the island. Why does Kate have Aaron? Something bad's gonna happen, and we're like, well, what happened?
Hmm.
It would have been crazy if like the house blew up and it's left ambiguous. Like, we don't know if Claire's dead or alive. That
Yeah.
would have been a dramatic cliffhanger, and then they could bring. You can't kill off a character that way. You would have to bring her back at some point. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think that would have been more dramatic than what happened this time. Although this time was pretty interesting.
This time was interesting, but it was also sort of undercut by Miles just being a dick.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
You
You
know?
know, I'm
And
like,
like this
huh?
this is kind of the thing that I it's not a new problem that here, this is something that we've talked about, with previous seasons, just like the underwriting of characters and like the
Yeah,
focusing on like one specific thing. And it's like, I'm not trying to say, like this is as bad as any of like the others writing,
right.
but this is just sort of like, okay, like Miles is just a douchebag.
He has
So
one character trait.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what is that? That's nothing. Like
yeah,
that's such a dumb thing. And like, and
yeah,
it feels just a little weird this episode, like, Sawyer being like, you're on a restraining order. Like, don't even look at her. Don't do anything like that. Like, it just
yeah,
feels weird. Like, I get it. Like, we're not supposed to trust Miles,
yeah.
but like, I don't I don't know. Like that part just felt weird, especially like after everything they just went through at the camp. You know,
Right. Yeah.
like I feel like, some camaraderie or something, like like something. Oh, even earlier this episode, Miles found Carl and
Yeah.
Rousseau.
Yeah. That kind of confirmed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm pissed. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a
I'm
bummer.
pissed. Strike one. No, not even strike one. Just another strike against the Lost Riders. Damn it! Like, really? That's how you kill Rousseau? Whatever.
Yeah. That was a
Um,
pretty, it
that's
wasn't a
underhanded.
very
That's bull.
climactic,
Yeah,
you know. I mean, it's
yeah.
tragic for sure, but I don't think it was the proper um, way to do like a tragic death. At least with a character like that, who,
Mhm.
I mean, we loved, and the writers had to have loved her too.
Mhm.
She was such a well done and very multifaceted character.
Yeah.
Um, it just, yeah, yeah. It was just, I don't know. It felt very unceremonious,
Yeah.
and I
It
think you
really
have to
did.
walk that line with screenwriting. How do you know, I don't want to say that you could never just kill someone off as sudden as that. Like, oh, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you have to figure out a way to do it that fits your story, fits the tone of your story, and does justice or service to your story.
Mhm.
Uh, Ned Stark's death came out of nowhere. Spoilers, I guess, for Game of Thrones. But it worked. It completely changed it, And of course, the seeds have been planted and it was leading up to it. But when it actually happened, like nobody, unless you had read the books, nobody knew it was coming.
Mhm. And even in the books, the way Martin writes it, it's so
Very similar, yeah.
yeah, it's very similar, because like he's trying to do this thing of like, like, oh, like recontextualizing those classic heroes. Ned
Yeah,
Stark is on a classic heroes journey. And when he gets to that point, you're like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be the turning point or something like that. And it's like, no, this is the end. And
and
that
and
was, that's how you do that.
and we have been trained on what to expect from our stories and how
Hmm.
stories are told. And
Hmm.
that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
So Ned Stark's death really knocked everyone off the rocker. Like, what? And it
Hmm.
was done perfectly, in a
Hmm.
way that works and it's tragic and it motivates the story to go on. Whereas Russo, it's like it has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. You
Hmm.
know, Sawyer looks disappointed for a sec. Actually, he looked more disappointed to see Carl dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that. He spent more time with Carl, but yeah, I just felt I don't know.
Yeah. All that to say that, like, that's a point, like Miles found their bodies, and
Yeah.
then, you feel like that would, elicit some sort of like, okay,
Yeah.
like let's get our heads together or something.
Yeah.
But like, no, it's just Sawyer being Sawyer,
I
again, one
I
mode for this guy.
yeah, and they could have set it up better. Like last episode, Miles could have got a gun and helped them defend.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like it was interesting, that this episode he says he's like, no, Kimi's man, they're not friends of mine. This is not what I signed up for. And it's like, yeah, we kind of got that. I, we need more showing, less telling, because they're saying that, but like the relationship between him and Sawyer isn't really reflecting that.
Yeah.
And like you said, there should have been a little more trust or something after the last episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
it is interesting how we're seeing more of his abilities. Like he heard Russo and Carl. That's
Hmm.
how he found them.
Hmm.
And then and again, it kind of goes back to how bad the writing was. It should be a really cool reveal that he actually saw Claire walk off with her dad.
Yeah.
So he saw Christian Shepherd.
Yeah.
I was like, huh, okay, interesting.
Hmm.
I wonder, yeah. I just that's what I want. I want more of that. Like, what is his? It's lost. I don't know if they'll actually explain it or not, but like, I want to know more about his abilities. Because
Hmm.
that he's the one person on like the science crew. You're like, wait, why is this guy here? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, he has sixth sense powers.
Yeah. Yeah. He has sixth sense powers. He wants a specific amount of money from
Yeah,
Ben.
yeah,
Like all these little things that I'm like, okay, like you're writing this guy to be more interesting than he's coming off.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So yeah.
man.
Also, I was a little, I w- I was a little shocked when Claire, sees Christian Shepherd holding her baby, and she's like, "Dad," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Oh. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
right.
we knew that. We
That's
knew
right.
that.
We did know that.
It's
I
just been
forgot.
a while since
It's
we referenced that.
been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um
uh,
Man, yeah. I fully like sat up. I was like, wait, what? Oh, dang it. Yeah. You got me, Lost Riders. Son of a
so
not
speaking of
helping your
science
case.
team,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a quick little scene where they're gonna go down into the bunker science station, and Daniel's like, Charlotte, you think maybe I should go first? Just might be dangerous. Check for traps. I have a higher perception. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. And Jin catches it. He's
Uh-huh.
like, does she know that he's into her?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that sets up how, again, it's kind of weird. Like, there's like four different shots where Jin sees Charlotte like reacting to the Korean,
Yeah.
and I'm like, the Korean language. Not, I didn't call him the Korean. That would have been horrible.
Wow.
Where he sees Charlotte reacting to the Korean in which they are speaking.
That's like in the newer Magnificent Seven movie where like you had all these like cool like character actors and all that stuff, and then you just had that one guy who's like, what's his personality? Oh, he's the Mexican.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like,
Well,
wait, what?
well, look. I think he had a better off than the Native American kid they got.
Okay, no,
Because one,
no,
he was barely in the movies. He barely had any lines. He was just kind of there.
true, but he did get to have that badass fight with the evil Native American,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? And-
Oh
yeah.
man,
Oh
it wasn't
boy,
a
that
bad movie. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, really? Are we still making these
man,
decisions?
that's a hot mess of a movie right there.
Come on, man.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Anyway, uh, okay. To go back to Jin reacting to the Korean language.
Yes.
Um, earlier in the day, and I had texted you this, but like I put on X-Men Evolution,
Oh
just
yeah.
to have something on in the background, while we're like, like doing laundry, like doing stuff around the house. Well, got to an episode where like, oh, okay, cool, like the kids are all gonna go to the beach. They took like the big, badass, like, I don't know, military grade SUV, and they're all gonna go to the beach.
Uh,
Well, the scene starts where there's like a cat in front of the driveway door. And it's like, oh, okay, cute cat. Well, then the door opens and it like runs away. Like, oh, okay, cool. So everybody piles in, like, oh yeah, let's go. So they start driving. You cut back to a bush where you see the cat again walking into the thing, and then like getting scared and going into the bush, and then the car drives by. And in my head, I was like, okay, because I know this is X-Men, I'm betting that that cat is not a cat and that it's Mystique
mhm.
in cat form. And lo and behold, as soon as the car drives by, the cat comes out of the bush and then it transforms into Mystique. And I was like, see, this is it's very simple storytelling.
Mhm.
It's the rule of three. You show something three times. Like that's that little like payoff.
Mhm.
Jin reacted to Charlotte like no like fully like keep on turning her head to like look
Mhm.
at Sun and Jin speaking Korean. I'm like, I get it. I
Even
get
then,
it.
like
He
after the
knows
second
that.
one, I was sold. I was like, yeah, we didn't need to do this four times, three or four
Yeah.
times. You
Yeah.
know,
So I'm just like, man,
especially with the lost audience. Like, who's watching this show, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on. Like, we're smarter than that. Like, we
People
can
who
figure
watch
it
that
out.
they watch the episode fully once and then they go back and start frame by frame
Hmm.
rewatching the episode. That's the crowd that you're playing to, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a bit much, but it did set up that there was a nice little, maybe a kindling, a spark of romance between Daniel and Charlotte.
Which like I don't know enough about these characters to really care.
I don't know a damn thing about Charlotte at this point. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And I'm
Good
also
for
just
you,
sort of
Dan. You know?
sure, but also like I don't know, like I don't get that as like Dan's vibe at all because Dan's vibe is just a stammering mess and just like I
Yeah.
I
Yeah, he
know
kind of have
nothing.
like,
I can't tell you like I don't,
yeah.
but then he wants to go get the medical supplies to
I
like prove
will
himself to everyone. It's
I
like,
will
I
say
don't
this
know.
about Faraday though, like it's like he knows what he's good at. Like there is like a confidence there.
Hmm.
Oh, it's just this isn't his character in Twister or his character in Saving Private Ryan. You
He's
know?
in Twister.
Yeah, he's the guy who's like he's staying behind in the truck while and they're like, "Come on, get out, you're gonna die." Remember when
Oh,
it hits the grandma's house? I think.
oh wow!
Yeah,
I don't remember that. Wow.
and he's the guy who lets the guy get stabbed in Saving Private Ryan.
Hmm.
Oh
And who
man,
lets that German soldier just walk away?
yeah, and that's the guy who kills the guy.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh man.
yeah.
Um, so it is interesting to see this, like I haven't seen anything about Faraday that would paint him as a coward. But he is does seem a little awkward and unsure of himself, but there is like this low key kind of confidence there, and we especially saw in the flashback,
Hmm.
and that might have been more arrogance and ego than confidence, but
Hmm.
like there is something there, like the fact that Dan's still going with it, like I'm gonna lie as long as I have to,
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
It's like, all right, man.
But I do like how he's the one calling out Charlotte. He's like, you see, Charlotte, this is why they don't trust us. It's your attitude. I'm like, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, but
Yeah,
yes, thank you for saying it.
yeah.
Because that line wasn't just to Charlotte, it was for the writers.
God,
I really
yeah.
think it's just your attitude, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Um what else happened on Island?
Um.
Oh, we find out Kimi and his men are alive. Oh, and so is what's his name shows up. Frank shows up
Yeah, Frank shows up.
and he does them a solid, man. He's like, they're gonna kill you. You gotta hide. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, Frank. We've
Hmm.
always had the feeling that Frank was a good one. That kind of just sealed the deal, you know.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm gonna save you guys.
yeah,
So he's flying them back to the ship, right? Is that what they said?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And he said like they gotta go now because he's not flying the ship at night. He's
Yeah.
not flying the helicopter at night.
Yeah.
Uh. So yeah. Yeah. And Kimi's men look messed up.
Yeah. I'm assuming a few of them got killed because I'm like, I was like, how did all those guys survive Old Smoky? You know,
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet they probably showed up with twice as many, and like half of them got killed off.
Yeah.
And then so all that's left was this group that just looks like wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. Is that? I think that's everything that really happened. Oh, after the surgery, Juliet tells Kate that Jack kissed her. You
Yeah.
know,
But
but she kind of knew that didn't really mean anything for her.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to prove that he's trying to figure out if he loves someone else or not.
Yeah.
Which, in hindsight, that does seem like a very Jack Shepard thing to do.
Yeah. True.
But it also just seems like an author's retcon, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like again, some of the story making decisions do seem like we're missing things, and that's why I keep bringing it back. Like they lost 2 episodes this season. Technically,
Mhm.
they lost more than that to the writer strike, but at the last minute, they were able to get 2.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I kind of feel like they would have done something more with that. The whole Jack Juliet, Jack Kate thing, because it does seem very just like pasted together.
Hmm.
Especially because the first 3 seasons, like those relationships, they're pretty solid writing wise, you know, like
Yeah.
annoying back and forth, of course, but like
Hmm. Hmm.
we understood what they saw in each other. We
Hmm.
understood what their decision making was, why they were doing it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, this season just seems like, oh, we're running out of time. Okay, we're breaking up Jack and Juliet already. It's like,
Uh-huh.
okay. So speaking of the relationship, let's get into the A plot, Jack and Kate off island.
Hmm.
Again, we kind of already explained it. They get together, and then by the end of the episode, we're not really sure where they're standing,
Hmm.
but we do know eventually that they're split up.
Hmm.
But I think the things that occur during that story is what really kind of makes it interesting and kind of saves this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the little extra
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And what happens first? I think Jack thinks he sees Christian Shepherd in the lobby, right? And it kind of
Mm-hmm.
throws him for a loop.
Mm-hmm.
So automatically we're like, okay, something's up,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then at one point, he goes to visit Hurley, which really, I don't like seeing Hurley like this, man. You know,
I
I
don't like seeing Hurley like this, but
I get it.
man, I from an actor standpoint,
Oh yeah,
from like a writing standpoint, I'm like, oh, this is
I
perfect.
love it.
This is great,
I
man.
love it. Hurley's always
Yeah.
been the fun, lovable, like comedic character.
Mm-hmm.
And then every now and then, like they give him something really good to chew on. So now
Mm-hmm.
to see the direction his character is going, it's very fascinating. And I'm like,
Yeah.
good for him, you know, for Jorge Garcia, who plays
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Reyes.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I'm liking it. And it's also, again, it's building stuff out. Like he's telling Jack about Charlie. He talks to Charlie regularly now,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Episode one, it was a one-time thing and he's freaking out, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or I guess technically twice. But now it's like yeah, weekly visits. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. And Charlie's conveying messages to Jack via Hurley. I'm like, oh, this is getting so interesting. You know, we have creepy island stuff happening off island now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that Kristen Shepherd is now both showing up on island and off.
Mm-hmm.
I see, like, I dig that. Like, I hate that character, but he's such a bad guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's so cool as the actor. He just shows up here and there, and then maybe once or twice a season he gets a really good episode, and he
Mm-hmm.
kind of just shows up here and there again. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting,
Kind of the dream gig right there, you know?
right?
Like
Yeah,
if I can't be one of the main characters on Lost,
yeah.
yeah, let me be like the weird
They keep bringing him
presence
back.
that keeps coming,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then that, of course, like Jack seeing Shepard, sorry, seeing his dad like fully and hearing his dad call to him,
yeah,
in that lobby, that is what starts sparking him to like get prescription meds from other
yeah,
doctors, so he
yeah.
can sleep,
And
quote
again, it's
unquote.
in my
And
notes. Damn it, Jack! Just swallow your pills with water.
right,
You don't need alcohol to swallow pills.
like it's just right there. It's
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 like
the same
TV,
steps,
television, film 101. If you're going to take medicine, you got to wash it down with alcohol.
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy.
I will say this, though, about him seeing his dad at night in the lobby.
Oof. Oof.
I wasn't sure because, again, I don't remember so much of the show, especially the last half of the show. I'm like, what's going on? So Jack hears like a smoke detector going off.
Mm-hmm.
So he's walking out, and he has to go replace the thing, and then that's when he sees his dad. I'm like, huh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You start the show or the scene with the smoke detector going off. Instantly brings me back to Echo's death, where he's following his brother around and then realize, oh, this isn't my brother. And then old
Oh,
Smokey shows up.
I didn't even realize that.
Now, it's never really stated or shown if Smokey was the brother because
Mhm.
he runs off into the jungle and then that's when
The
Smokey
smoke
gets
monster
Echo.
comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. R.I.P.
So I just thought, I was like, oh, and I don't even think I caught that. Like my watching the first time, I'm like, that's interesting that the smoke detector go off. Was that could have just been a throwaway gag, right? To like get Jack into the lobby. Like, I don't know.
Hmm.
Is there something more to that?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, and it is tough too because it's like we haven't seen Smokey since season 3 when he took out Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for the last episode.
Yeah, for last
So
episode.
it's been so long, and it's like, oh, that's right. there was Echo's episode where the person who he was talking to was not who he was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many questions.
I don't know, man.
And where's Christian's body?
I don't
God,
know.
so many questions.
So many questions.
Yeah. So anyway, all of this is to say all of this sparks Jack's insecurities coming back. He thinks, oh no, is Kate having an affair? Honestly, I thought Kate would have been the one to crack first, because she's always tried to run away from anything like settling her down, tying her down.
The second Jack pulled out the ring, I was reading Kate. I was like,
yeah,
where are you going? Where's your head at with this? Because
yeah.
I feel like you're probably just gonna say yes to like,
yeah,
placate the moment, but honestly, like it felt genuine,
It did.
It felt genuine that like, yeah, Kate is happy. This is it. This is the moment. This is the man
Yeah.
that she's gonna hitch it all up to, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then, she's got like the weird phone calls, and all that. And
Yeah,
honestly,
that's when that stuff starts.
Yeah, honestly, when she got the phone call, I was like, I thought it was Ben.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So when she's like, no, I was doing something for Sawyer, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Ben shows up in so many different ways. I wouldn't have been surprised either.
Yeah.
Like, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will say this though. Before he proposes to her, the last we see before that is when he goes to visit Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
And Hurley tells him Charlie has a message for you. As he's walking away, Jack's just like, man, this sucks seeing Hurley like this.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing he says is Charlie says, you can't raise him.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point we've already seen him and Kate talk about how like Kate telling him like how he's such a good like dad essentially to Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Hurley says that you can't raise him, like that's where it cracks. That's where you see Jack starting to freak out. And brilliant job from Matthew Fox, because it's like instantly you saw Jack change, and he does his signature, like he kind of slowly turns and like rubs his head real quick. Sorry guys, this is an audio format podcast. If you had visual, you would have seen a perfect Jack impersonation.
Audience, it was perfect. It was like Matthew Fox became my brother. Matthew Fox is now the co-host of Lost Legacy.
There you go. Where were you, Kate? Where? I want to know. Yeah. So to see the next scene is where he proposes to her. Like, oh, this is interesting. Because it does feel like, I don't know. Like on one hand, you could see the struggle in him. Like, am I good at this? Am I going to be a good father? Am I going to be a good husband? But at the same time, knowing Jack Shepherd and knowing how he cracks, it's like, is he doing this to try to repair or strengthen him? You know what I mean? Or his relationship? I don't know. Oh, also, it's also super crazy what Hurley's telling him. He's like, hey, man, we're all dead. He's like, what? Yeah. He's like, think about it. Look at our lives. What's your life? You got the girl, and he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, I was happy too for a while. I was like, then I started seeing things. I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was like, well, what about Jin, huh? Sun doesn't have her husband. Is she in heaven too?
Does that mean Jin's in hell?
Yeah, I know. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. But, and that's kind of how it ends. Jack starts freaking out and Kate says, hey, get your act together. I don't want you around my kid. And he says, you're not even related to him. I was like, oh.
And then there's little baby Aaron coming out with this giant Shamu plushie,
Yeah.
and Kate just goes to pick him up and is like, man, which
Yeah.
technically Jack is related to Aaron.
I completely forgot about that
Yeah.
until I was like writing my notes. I'm like, oh yeah, Jack is the one who's related to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's interesting too because like Jack says that he's like, you're not even related to him. But then also Kate explained, she's like, I was doing something for Sawyer. It's like, well, why won't you tell me what it is? Because he wouldn't want me to tell you. And
Mm-hmm.
Jack replies with, he's like, he says Sawyer made a choice. He chose to stay. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm like, that's interesting. He says Sawyer made a choice. He's like, I'm the one who saved you. Like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Man.
and this is character work well done. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
unlike the rest of the episode, like, wow. Or the rest of like the Jack and Juliet stuff. It's like, and this is also the beauty of television, man. Like to stay with these characters for years on end, to keep them fresh, you have to keep introducing cool new little, facets of the character, and you're like, wow. And
Yeah.
honestly, this reminded me of the line from Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Oh gosh.
where Angelina Jolie says, she says something to the fact like, happy endings are just stories that haven't finished yet. It's like, ooh,
Dang.
ooh, oh, damn.
Dang.
But that's what it reminded me of. Like, oh wow,
Yeah.
they survived. The adventure's over.
Mm-hmm.
They got off the island. They live. Now they get to live their lives. Now what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's it. You never really get to see that story.
Yeah.
And now we see it like they are struggling all in their own ways. Like,
Mm-hmm.
huh. Okay. And to see Jack like expecting something from that. I'm the hero, guys. I saved you. You know? I'm like, he doesn't say it, but that's what he's meaning when he's like, I'm the one who saved you.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you still helping this guy who stayed? I'm like, oh. Yeah. Okay, two things. This episode, a lot of rumors and conspiracies started coming out because there's a character who I wouldn't say is a series regular, but basically a lead, was missing from this episode. You know who that is, Sam? I'll tell you. It was Jack's chest hair.
Oh God.
The flash forward begins with him in bed, shirtless, and the internet. Keep in mind, Twitter was brand new at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Internet and Twitter was a buzz with where is Jack's chest hair?
Oh my God.
It's like, oh my god, Kate probably shaved it off,
Yeah.
right? Did she? She was like telling
Well,
him to,
she gave him the razor to shave his
yeah,
stubble, what little stubble there
yeah.
was.
It's
Like,
like,
yeah.
wow, wow, that's crazy. Also, there's a little Easter egg. Jack, when he gets his prescription,
Mm-hmm.
the prescription is from a place called Scadden's Pharmacy, something like that. Scadden's Pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
Scadden's Pharmacy is a fictional pharmacy used on CSI.
Mm.
So my question is, wait, is this in the same universe? Wait a second, Sam. What would Horatio Kane do on the island? Spin off, baby.
CSI, the island.
It's going to be like the episode, the other 48 days, except it's going to be an entire series of that. We're just like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. We're just going to see David Caruso behind the scenes of Lost the entire series, and how he's actually saving them all every episode.
It's like that story arc where he goes to like Miami or something, or Rio de Janeiro to go hunt down killers.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's that, but the whole series,
oh,
the whole
dude.
spinoff.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah, yeah.
David Caruso.
Also, I guess another Easter egg, early in the episode when Jack comes downstairs to the kitchen, he like stubs his toe on something, stubs his toe on a little like tiny Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, that's right. And this is when it was still a Fox thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
I know J.J. Abrams was gone by this point, but
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the year was. Like, what year was the acquisition? The Disney merger.
Oh, that is a good point.
Disney acquired Lucasfilm on 2012.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, it was way after Lost.
Yeah.
Okay, this has already been a lot longer episode than I had thought.
Yeah.
Okay, MVPs. This was kind of weird.
Yeah, this one's weird.
I don't. Matthew Fox did a good job, but I don't feel like it was MVP level.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like if anything, I want to give the MVP to Hurley.
Okay,
You
I could do
know?
that. Like he did steal the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like you see him and you're just like, oh man, like, yep, like Jack and Kate are all off, playing house, doing everything like life is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Hurley,
All
who's
right.
like, nah, man, this
We'll
ain't
give it
it.
to Jorge Garcia and Sam Anderson, the actor who plays Bernard.
All right.
Just because I
Yeah.
like him, and like every time I thought about like my favorite parts of this episode, it was just Bernard, just
Yeah.
being
Bernard's
Bernard.
there.
You
Yeah.
know, it was cool. It's kind of cool seeing like we haven't really seen too much of Rose this season,
Hmm.
but what we have seen of Bernard, like he just seems like he's getting more screen time, and I'm always for that.
Yeah. Me too.
So okay, predictions. What?
Oof, man.
We
That's
got
a good
so many
one.
questions now. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
what do you think? Okay, where's Claire? What's your Claire prediction?
Blair is being recruited by Old Smoky, or whoever Christian Shepherd is, you know. They're gonna form like their evil, like lost Power Rangers. They're not gonna like be like fighting, physically, or maybe, who
Mhm.
knows? But yeah, they're gonna do something that's like we gotta keep these people here and keep out all the other people that we don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to think of Claire that way, but the vibe we're getting from Christian Shepherd, especially in this episode, is just kind of
It's bad.
bad. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't think she's going off to
I mean, just
I don't know
yeah, she's just not gonna
puppy
go off.
camp, puppy
Yeah.
daycare. Like
Yeah.
she's gonna be used for something.
Yeah. Just the shot of, Christian holding Aaron, like in front of the fire and just like looking up,
Yeah,
smiling. Like, wasn't a super sinister smile, but
yeah.
like that was an inviting smile.
And the fact that she went with him,
Hmm.
but Aaron
And
got left behind.
yeah.
Something
Yeah.
about that just that's not Claire. Like it doesn't feel right. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
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 Maybe we'll find out next week. Maybe not.
Hmm.
But next week we're talking about season 4, episode 11, Cabin Fever,
Mm.
in which Locke, Ben, and Hurley search for the cabin fever. Guys, I had fun. I think I had more fun doing this episode than actually watching it.
Oh, you know what? I'll agree.
But I think that's the case most of the time.
Yeah.
I enjoy this. If you want to hit us up on the Twitters or anywhere, hashtag Lost Legacies, you can find me at _Matt Jimenez without the blue check. And on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel. That's REEL Texas Weirdo. I am unverified and will probably be unverified to my grave.
Hell yeah, dude. Punk rock. And I show Elon where to shove that $7. Okay. Love you guys. Till next time. Get
Get
lost.
lost.